Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for April 2nd, Wednesday. We got a big slate on tap and we're going to dive right into it. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann. Come join us at 9star. If you've never tried us out before, go through the App Store, Android or iOS App Store. You can get 7 free days to try us out. Now let's dive in, as always, position by position, starting with the point guard position, our highest owned guy, Jose Alvarado, 23% owned. 5.6K. Pelicans are without everybody. And, you know, he's been around a fantasy point per minute. The issue is that it is a tough matchup. But with how good he is from a fantasy point per dollar standpoint, I'm fine getting some. Not going to go super hard on him, but I'm fine getting a little bit. Next, we got Fred VanVleet, 18% owned. In a great spot versus the Jazz. Absolutely fine going FVV just due to the ceiling that he has, especially versus a poor team like the Jazz. Then pivot time. Dennis Schroeder, 6.4K, 16% owned. Cade Cunningham is doubtful. He's going to get the run again. We know there's a ceiling where he can reach, 40 fantasy points. And with that, we got to at least consider him. I think 6.4K is a lot for him at this point, but I don't mind having a little bit, and I think he's probably going a little too low owned. Next, Chris Paul, 5.1K. Look, he got 28 minutes last time, 35 2 games ago, 33. I think there is the path to extra minutes, and Spurs are sitting some guys. No Vassell, no Shohan. So with that, I like the upside of Chris Paul in this matchup. Don't mind getting some CP3. Point guard. On DK, we got Schroeder, Paul, and Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, 8.8K is fine. It's versus the Knicks. Knicks could absolutely keep this game close enough, and Mitchell's been on fire, so I'm totally fine going with some Mitchell here. Now, shooting guard. On FanDuel, Dillon Brooks, 4.9K, 4,900. Look, I never like going Dillon Brooks when he's chalky, and I don't like going him when he's 5K. He does have the ceiling to make this pay off, but his most likely outcome is low 20s and doesn't quite do enough for you, especially in a GPP. Julian Champagne, 4,200. If he gets the start, I absolutely love him. If he plays big minutes, he has a decent ceiling. I don't mind going there. Cassell's fine if you want to do it, especially if, more guys come out. Schroeder, we talked about. Zach LaVine, 7K. Look, he has a big-time ceiling. He hasn't been showing it. He hasn't been playing very well, but there's a very good matchup versus the Wizards. I'm fine taking some LaVine there. Speaking of the Wizards, they are just a complete shit show here, and I don't mind going Kobe Jones. He's averaging 0.96 fantasy points per minute, should get minutes off the bench, and there's a decent ceiling when he does. AJ Johnson, 4,900, should start and play huge minutes. Played 42 and 37 the last 2 games, 34 in the other start. I think he's a lock for 30-plus minutes, regardless of what the score is in this game, and at 4,900 I'm fine getting that. Shooting guard on DK, Champagne, Dennis Schroeder, Donovan Mitchell. We talked about them all. Let's get over to small forward. DeMar DeRozan, 31%, 7,600. He has been a total beast since Fox left this team, and he's in an excellent spot versus the Wizards. Absolutely 100% fine getting to him. I would get a ton of him. Keldon Johnson, 5.3K, 24% owned. If Keldon is playing, he is a game time decision or questionable, then I like him a lot. He has a big ceiling. There's no Sokan. There's no Vassell, so he should get extra minutes. And if he is starting and going to get starters minutes, then he becomes super, super interesting. He's a solid per minute guy. Pivot time, Kawhi Leonard, 9K. Since March 1, this guy has just been crushing. And over the last 2 weeks, 450-point games, I'm fine going back in a great spot versus the Pelicans. The issue, 17-point spread. So definitely Big chance for a blowout here, but if it stays at all close, then Leonard should crush. PJ Washington, 7,800 versus the Hawks. Huge pace up spot. Dallas is already a fairly fast team, and then you get an extra pace up, which is interesting. He can definitely make it happen. He's not as good with Anthony Davis out there, so if for some reason Anthony Davis is a late scratch or is out, I know he is on the injury report, but he is probable, then I absolutely love him, but I don't mind a little bit even with AD. And small forward on DK, Champagne, Asar Thompson, 5,600. We have a Tobias Harris that is probable. So Tobias has been the one that is giving Thompson the most minutes if somebody's out. So with that, I don't think he's going to get the huge bump up in minutes, which has me worried about him. Not only could it be a blowout, but his minutes are all over the place as it is. So I'd be a little scared about Thompson in the spot. Harrison Barnes, 3,600. He is too cheap not to consider with the guys sitting out. I'm fine playing some Harrison Barnes. Kobe Jones, obviously we already talked about him. Power forward, DeRozan, Sabonis, Keldon. Talked about all of them and like them all and the pivots we've talked about. So get on over to the power forward spot. Asar Thompson, Barnes, and Evan Mobley. Look, I like the Cavs today. I like this spot. I don't mind getting some Cavs versus the Knicks here. Cavs, I only want in games that can be close into the fourth, and they haven't been playing as dominant, and the Knicks are good enough to keep into this game. So I love some Cavs. I think there's a good chance that they can really go nuts. And on this slate with so many teams that have a big spread, I don't mind game stacking a little bit, because I think one of these games, one of the ones that's a 15 double-digit spread, one of these games is going to stay close late into the fourth. And whatever the game that is, it is likely you're going to need a couple guys from that. Whether it be 2 or 4, I don't know. But I'm absolutely interested in game stacking on this slate a little bit. Now, center spot on FanDuel. Forgot where I was for a second. Domantas Sabonis, 9,700, 28% owned. I think he's a little overpriced here. I'm fine getting a little bit, but he's priced like he should get 60 or could get 60. And we've seen like a handful of 60s all year from him. I don't expect it in this matchup where they're 13-point favorites. Paul Reed, 3,800. We have him at 19 minutes. He's going to play a little bit off the bench, I'm sure. He's a good point per dollar guy. If he gets 19 at 3,800, I totally understand why we're going there. And we got to bring up Sandro in this spot too. With all the guys hurt for San Antonio, there is a path to him getting that 20-plus minutes. And he's been a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. So absolutely interesting and on the radar there as well. And on to center, on DK, Paul Reed, Jokic, Mobley. Man, Jokic is just insane. He is questionable. This whole Denver starting lineup is pretty much questionable today. We're going to have to wait and see what happens there. But if they're sitting a couple guys, Denver becomes super, super interesting, and you got to consider them as well. It's a great spot versus the Spurs for pretty much everybody. And that'll do it for us today, guys. Quick one. Once again, we'll be back tomorrow with more. I hope you all have a good one. Peace.